Super Bowl champions.
E-A-T-L-E-S,
Swinging a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Flyers are going to win the Stanley Cup. The Flyers win the Stanley Cup. For the lead. Yes! Iverson, wow, what a fake off Daniels as he broke his ankles and got all the way to the cup.
What is up, everybody? This is episode 87, Drunk on the Broad, Drunk on the Fightins tonight. Got a special guest in the house. Chris, introduce yourself, brother. It's good to have you on.
How you doing? Thank you for having us. My name's Chris, and I was creator and I run Drunk Phil's Fans. Other admins are involved, of course, but happy to be on. Super excited for tomorrow. I hope you took off from work or took a half a day, because I did too, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, listen, 11 years in the making, right? We got it's weird to me. I was looking at a bunch of stuff today at how the baseball gods work, right? That the last time that they play a playoff game, it's against the Cardinals. If I remember correctly, it was also on this day.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're in we got an IOU, we got to cash in this weekend.
No doubt. I mean, they didn't retire Howard, but Howard was done after that 2011 game, and I'd like to return the favor and retire Pujols with 2 straight losses. How about that?
Listen, I'm here for all that, man. That to me was what I was thinking about all day today. Like thinking about those matchups, thinking about how this team matches up, and there's a lot of things to like. And where do you want to start? You want to start with let's start with the rotation. What are you thinking about in terms of the rotation and how that sets up?
So I'm not a super analytic stat guy, but I love stats. So I'm more like traditional baseball, but here's something I will tell you. I looked up Jose Quintana, 0-0 first pitch. This year, hitters are hitting 385 against his first pitch.
Ooh.
So, 385 against the first pitch. If I'm, Thompson, if I'm Long, swing at the first pitch. It's going to be the best pitch. This guy doesn't walk people. Once he gets ahead, he starts throwing the curves and outside, and he's, sneaky like that. But almost 400 on first pitch, you got to go after it. To go after it.
Chris, you said that, and I'm ultimately envisioning like a first pitch Schwarber lead off, set the table, and just kind of run from there, and just kind of put it all out on the table and let them know that this lineup is and can be dangerous. If we can set the table like that and have them swing early and often, you have the bats to be able to start to put together multiple hit innings, crooked numbers, and really take off on this series.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals rotation, like Quintana, Nicholas, Wainwright, or whoever, the Phillies are better. Like Nola and Wheeler, I'll have them go up against almost anyone. So, when we talk about that, the thing is the Cardinals, the relievers are really good and throw the ball almost, close to 100, every one of them, and they're big strikeout guys. So you kind of want to get a big lead on the starters and just beat them up, and then have these guys come, have their relievers come in. And I don't know if Helsley's playing. I know he had a middle finger issue, but I hope the closer's not even in the picture. I don't care.
Yeah.
Get a lead and he's not in.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there where you think about get your leads early. If you can get your lead in the first 6 innings and let your bullpen, and I like the addition of what I've seen in the last couple weeks with having Eflin at the back end of that bullpen, like really looked good in the couple of outings that he had in the last couple seasons. I'm looking at that and going, if I can jump on them early and put them away, man, I can let Wheeler pitch until he's done, and then I can start to bring in the parade of guys that I can match up and really start to play that lefty-righty game.
Yeah, I've been recently worried with Robertson and Sir Anthony. I think 15 innings pitch, 14 walks. Like, they're just been wild. I feel like something's missing. And, Eflin on the clinch game, when he was brought in to close, I was nervous. I was like, I don't know what he's doing. I don't like this idea. Like, he's never done this before. But, man, like, sometimes you got to do things you've never done before to win. And we did. So I'm obviously okay with it now. He's not going to start, but he's a guy that could come in a spot if it's the 5th, the 6th, whatever it is. Like, might be that guy. And Alvarado is just ridiculous.
That could be a really productive role for him. Alvarado, I mean, the one pitch that I think about the other night when he threw a slider that touched like 101 and just ran right on the inside. Like, it's dangerously controlled is the way I would describe it. Like, he is just able to get the ball wherever he wants. As long as he can keep that control in play, man, it is really something that you can really work on.
Yeah, I thought his interview post the clinch was like one of the best interviews. Like, he was just heartfelt, thankful, like down to earth. I really was, surprised because you don't get to really talk to, especially a lot of the Latin players. You don't see them interview. True. You just don't. And Alvarado, like, I was impressed. I was like, it was heartfelt. That this is for you, Philadelphia. I just thought it was great.
Chris, when he's saying that, it had me feeling like Jeff Garcia. the Merry Christmas Philadelphia. Like, it felt kind of like in that vein where I was like, ooh, okay. I like it was just like that, to watch that celebration at the end of the game when they clinch. I'm just so happy for those guys, but happy for everybody at home. And I was giving our other co-host Rich last night. He was upset. Yeah, he's in the, they have they only made it because of the third wild card. And I'm like, and I said, at the same time though, Rich, like, this is the setup right now. So you have the opportunity to be able to get in. I think the matchup road that they have, I would much rather be where they are and play St. Louis and then potentially Atlanta, rather than in the other side of that bracket to either play, like, you would end up playing either the Padres or the Met. Like, I don't like that matchup at all. So I think if they can go in, right, I love the starting pitching of Wheeler and Nola, especially the way Nola's pitched in at the tail end of the season. I like their chances in this series versus anybody else that they would have played.
Definitely. And, the key to me is a few things. I think this is, you got to expect 7 out of these 2 guys. And I don't want to go to a third game. I don't want Suarez. And I'd rather have Falter at this point, honestly.
I would too.
I don't know what happened, if it was just no one cared about that game, but, like, he got rocked. And there's times where he has gotten rocked. He'll play okay, and then it's the 4th or 5th inning, and he gets rocked. But I think, like, our 2 guys got to go 7. I mean, the negative of it, they've never been there before. Wheeler, never. Nolan, never. Quintana has, and Nicholas has, because the Cardinals always are, and Quintana was with the Cubs in 17. So, like, this guy has experience, and that's important in this.
Do you think Wainwright plays? Do you think he pitches in this series?
I think he's going to go the 3rd game if there is one. That's what I think they're shaping this up to do. I think he's the guy with experience. I don't know who else they would send out in the 3rd game. I mean, I know all their guys are like the same. They don't have a number 1. Right. They got a bunch of 3s and 5s. But with the change of the venues, where now it's 3 in a row away, I don't know if the Phillies or any teams accustomed to this, because this is going to be like the 1980, like when the Phillies had to beat Montreal in a hostile environment for 3 games. Like,
Yeah.
hopefully we have that, because I feel like the person who isn't good with that specifically is Nick Castellanos. Like,
Castellanos, yeah.
where was he at during the clinching party? I didn't see him at all.
And you know
Why?
what? I've heard a bunch of people say that, and I don't know if it's a, because he's been out for the last couple weeks, feeling a little distant because he wasn't a part of this run down the stretch. I don't know if this is just a personality thing. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
He's just quiet. We don't know.
Right. Like, he wasn't in these situations with the Reds, right? Like, maybe it's just been a while since he's been in this situation, and he's just kind of like taking that laid back approach. I don't know, but that it did seem a little strange considering how everyone else was so visible. At least the guys in the starting lineup. Like, you saw Hoskins in that post game interview, kind of like pretty much break down and start crying, right? Yep. You saw Schwarber be, and I'm going to quote Brett Brown, the adult in the room, right? You saw, and then the best one though was Bohm to me. I loved Bohm walking around with the case of beer on his shoulder, and we had talked about this on one of our previous shows, but like, to look at how far he's come maturity wise, right? He has that moment where he gets caught on camera, right, saying, I fucking hate this place, right? The thing that I loved about that moment, though, was that he owned it. He never backed down. He didn't walk it back. He said, yeah, I said it, but like, take it with a grain of salt.
And that's what endeared him to us, right? Because like, if he would have lied it, like, we don't like liars. Like, if you say, like, have you never said something terrible about any of the 5 sports teams? I do, maybe on a daily basis, but
truly,
I love them, and I'll own up to it. Like, I was wrong. Like, he isn't terrible. I don't hate them. But he owned up to it. I think that he is destined for first base, where he can hide some of his deficiencies. And I think that I don't know if he's a 2-hitter or if he's a 7-hitter. I don't know if he's going to be a 20 home run guy, but I don't see it so far. I think he can blossom into that.
Okay.
But I think that unless Hoskins does something amazing, I think he's going. He has to go. We can't have a terrible defense.
I think money-wise, I think money-wise, it's a guy that they're going to have to move on from. And at least my master plan, right, is to pursue Trey Turner, right, and slide him middle of the field, top of your lineup, and because you really are missing that top of the lineup guy, right? And we had a guy, a friend of the show, Mike, who does another show on the Fired Up podcast, who was talking to me about having Bohm as the leadoff guy. Based on the way that his approach to the plate, you could say that his approach to the plate would lend itself maybe more towards him being on the leadoff. I'm not sold on it. He was talking me into it, but like, I think
you'd like to see Brandon Marsh blossom into it, right? Because this dude has speed. He's left-handed. Like, I love the idea of Marsh, and like, I wasn't sure about this dude, but he hit over 300, in the last 2 months. Yeah. Like, maybe injuries have worried me a little bit, but I'm sold on giving this dude a shot.
Yeah, Marsh, and if you look at his numbers turning around, and Mike, Chris, I got to ask you, Mike's asking about the scoreboard behind the poster behind you.
Yeah, so my wife got it for me for Father's Day, I think 2 or 3 years ago. So it's an actual, obviously, Connie Mack, a replica of it on a single day, but it's, it's huge. It's tough for you to kind of like see.
No, that's awesome.
I also play like Stratomatic, and I don't know if this is, so I have like a replica
Wow.
of, Connie Mack, and, this is the scoreboard and kind of where it sat there in right
That's
center.
awesome. That's pretty cool. Very cool.
But yeah, I love looking at it. The clock actually works. I don't know if it works right now because I don't have a battery in it.
Nice.
But
That's awesome.
yeah.
Very cool. Listen, the moving Bohm around, that's a conversation we can come back to in an off season, right?
Yep.
But I like the way that their lineup stacks, right? If you can roll with a lineup, with Schwarber, Hoskins, Harper, Real Muto, and then Bohm, Castellanos, Marsh, Segura, and Stott. There's not like, if they are playing fair to middle of the road, that lineup can still be productive and still put runs up.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they're going to stick with the normal lineup, right? Because I know Vierling's now playing center field. They want to get as many right-handers in as they have. But I think like 4, 5, 6, 7, it's got to be right-handers after this Quintana. You got to blast it with
you got to pepper.
And I'm assuming Harper will be third and Schwarber will hit first. But the rest, just blast this dude right-handers. I think he's left-handers were hitting 216 overall, or right-handers not much better, honestly, 240. But
it's about
the
that.
series is going to come down to a big hit. And will the Phillies make stupid defensive mistakes? Because I don't think the Cardinals are, because they're not that team.
No, they are certainly not that team. If your key to victory is waiting for the Cardinals to make a mistake, don't hold your breath, because defensively they've just never been a team that's going to do that. It's just not going to happen.
We posted a stat that the Phillies are 21-5 this year when Hoskins homers. So, we need 21-5 winning homers, and that's like we need Hoskins to homer, preferably maybe the second guy after Schwarber homers.
Yeah, really. I mean, listen, they took the season series from the Cardinals, right? So they win 4 games of 3. They win 4 out of the 7 games.
Yeah.
They outscore the Cardinals, but only by 2 runs. But the Cardinals in those 7 games did hit 9 home runs. So,
and Arenado had 3 of them,
and in that one game, right, they go back to back to back to back.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
which,
that was
that can be something like that can be something where you're really gonna have to be on your A game if you're Wheeler, especially coming out in that first game, to really, really put a strong emphasis on those first couple innings, not letting them get guys on, not letting them get any kind of momentum. If he really has to do a better job, not a better job, really has to just continue to do a good job at keeping those guys off base, keep the pitch count low, and really get a quality start to the point where if you can get, like you were saying, get them to go 7, and then you bring in whatever combination of guys that's going to fit wherever the Cardinals are in their lineup. I think that's the key for game 1.
Yeah, I mean, Arenado and Goldschmidt obviously worried about, but the other guy I worry about is Edman. Like, this guy steals a lot of bases, and JT has been awesome, but Edman's kind of that guy you have to keep off the base pass. You just have to do whatever you have to do. But he's kind of that sneaky guy that always gives us trouble. I feel, he's just that guy who isn't the star that just gives the Phillies teams trouble, a Philly killer.
Oh God. And who, it's kind of like a Cody Ross.
Oh, exactly. Like Cody Ross is what I was thinking.
Like a Cody Ross kind of like
Brandon Nimmo, or the guy from the Marlins. I can't think of his name right now, but he just kills us. Rojas. No, Miguel Rojas just kills us. Like, he's not a great player, but he's great versus the Phils. What's your feeling? Like, do you hate the Cardinals?
I don't hate, like, this week. Fuck everything Redbirds, football and baseball.
Yep.
I think there's the thing that I hate about them is like this, like when Scott Rowland leaves and goes there, and it's baseball heaven, and there's this perception that everything about St. Louis baseball is everything that's right with baseball, and it's always exactly the way that baseball should be played. That happens in most cities. That's not unique to St. Louis. So I don't know if it's like a Midwest thing where like
it's perpetuated by media and Midwest. Exactly. Like, I say the same thing. Fuck Scott Rowland. Fuck the Cardinals. Fuck Budweiser. Fuck Anheuser. All of that. I hate every one of them. I like right now, like my level of hate is like, normally I don't give a shit about the Cardinals. Like, who cares? They're in the Midwest, whatever. Like, we get it. You beat you beat the Cubs, who stink, and the Pirates, who stink, and you win your division. All right, great.
right.
But 2011, like that was heartbreaking. Like that was the end of our era. So like I'm pissed off about that still, and I'm holding that grudge, and I want this team to beat them for that. I know they don't give a shit, but I do.
That whole thing was like soul crushing. Like when I think back to that, like because that particular team in 11 was destined for like straight to the World Series. And there were so many things that could have gone differently in that game 5. The fact that they get shut out, they give up the 1 run on the fluky play in the first, and then nothing the rest of the game. That to me, Chris, is why I love the position that they are in right now. Because you're in. And if you're in, any team can win. If there's any sport where any team can win as long as they're in, listen, baseball, fluky stuff happens. The ball bounces a weird way. Stupid ass fucking squirrel runs in front of the field, right? Like you get weird stuff that happens. So I love the position that they're in where they are in. And they're in probably the most favorable matchup.
Yeah, like, can the Phillies get hot for a month? They've done it before. They can get hot. They're like, have all of their guys more than, I would say, 2 gotten hot at the same time? Probably not. But 2 is enough. And when it was 2 and it was the big guys, like we absolutely just, rolled through. So could it happen? Yeah, I mean, I think experience has a lot to do with this, right? And Cardinals have it, and the Phillies almost to a man don't. Schwarber does, and there's a few others that do, and I think that will make a difference. I don't want this to be 07.
Agreed.
And that's a worry. That's the huge worry.
Agreed.
Because it kind of feels like that a little bit. Like we know we're good enough, but we're not really good enough. And then Colorado came in and whooped us. I don't want that, and I'm hopeful not for that. I don't think it happens because I think the Cardinals have 2 guys on their team, and maybe Pujols now that he's still on steroids. But
well, listen. This goes out to all the anybody who's in any kind of Cardinals family here. So forget everything. Everything Redbirds is out the window this weekend. But like I'm looking at where, like I love this spot. I love the spot for them. So what's the key to winning this series for you?
So I think it has to be minimizing defensive mistakes, 7 innings out of Nola and Wheeler. And I think each game, whether it's 2 or 3, are going to come down to 1 big hit. So it's RASP, runners in scoring position, which we have not done good at. I think it comes down to those. I don't want it to come down to the bullpen because it could. And I just think we're deficient there, depending on how things go. I mean, Alvarado and Eflin, I'm more confident in, and I didn't even know Eflin was going to be a reliever at the beginning of the season, or 2 weeks ago, or 5 days ago, honestly. But I think that's what I would say is minimizing the stupid mistakes. The runners in scoring position, and we got to get the 2 starters to win to go 7. And I'd like to see them sweep because I don't want to go to the 3rd.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm right there with you in terms of like I want no part of having to rely on Suarez or Falter or anybody else to be able to have to win a must-win game. Even though in that must-win game, right, it's all hands on deck. I think your point of getting 7 innings out of Wheeler or Nola is essential. But not to be redundant, I'm just going to go and say, right, we need our best player to be the best player on the field, even though he's going to be the DH.
Yeah.
You need Harper to be the impact player that he can be. And his playoff experience has not been what some of his regular season performances have been. So I'm going, and the fact that now he's able to DH and not play the field and isn't playing the field, I'm looking at him and going, I need massive production out of you because everybody in that clubhouse feeds off of Bryce Harper.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of not done a lot since he came back, right? He's just been poor, and I don't know if he's still hurt, if he's pressing too much. And the worry is with the playoffs, he's going to press even more because he knows the words out there that he's not performed. I mean, it's kind of like the Kershaw curse. This guy is a Cy Young winner during the year, then the playoffs come, and he was terrible, like really not good. And Harper is kind of the same. He hasn't been in the playoffs enough to like go the Kershaw route, but it feels like he's, could have been. No one. Yeah. How many times was he in it? 1 year, I think, Harper, or 2, and he just didn't really do much.
Yeah, whatever it was, 1 or 2, the production was not anything to write home about.
Yeah, I mean, but Schmidt had a good 80 and a bad 83, so it happened.
Correct. Yeah. Listen, you just hope that, like, listen, everybody that's in there right now is 13 wins away. So I think the fact that they're in does anything and everything that we need in order for them to be able to get the best opportunity they can. And I think that's going to come on the offensive end because the more runs that they can produce, the better off they're going to be in terms of giving the comfort level to the pitchers. So,
yep.
So, all right. So now I need your prediction because normally, like on an Eagles game week, we would give a prediction and a key play. So,
okay,
let's just do it for the series. Your series prediction and then a key play or a key player.
So I think I think it's going to go 3. And I think the Phillies are going to end up winning. I think that we're going to lose game 1 and we're going to win the last 2 is just kind of how I feel it's going to happen. I think a key play that's going to happen. I think Nick Castellanos is going to do something. I think he's going to be the guy that we're going to be like, he didn't do that Matt Stairs moment, but maybe he hit the 2-run single to like put us ahead 3-2 in the 8th. I think it's Nick C because we got to get our money worth for this dude. And the time is now, and maybe he can. And no one else not many people would say that, but I'm gonna blame it on Nick one way or another. So
I love it. I love it. Listen, I also, as much as I don't want it to go 3, I think it does go 3. I think they alternate. I think the Phillies win game 1 and game 3. And I think for something happens in game 2. But I think that
Tanola.
God, it's such a sore subject, but it could be a situation where, he might give up runs. And it's so hard to say that after watching how well he pitched in his last appearance in Houston. But I think for whatever reason, I think maybe they get out hit in game 2 and then they come back and win in game 3. and I think we're all bombarding the box office at CBP to get
Oh my
tickets for
God,
Game
yeah.
3.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Listen, before we hop out of here, you
Yeah.
guys got something pretty cool going on with one of our local breweries.
Yeah, so with Von C, we have a new beer coming out. It's releasing this Saturday at the brewery only. From 12 to 4, they're going to be open. So they're going to be selling, 4-packs. You can get it on tap. You can get cases of it. Please get cases of it. So 700 level lager is what it's called. We have a Drunk Bills fan who is an artist, Colin. He goes by the artist name of Non Heinous, and he hooked up the front logos. We wanted the idea of like the vet in the background because it's 700 level lager. It could go for the Eagles or the Phillies, whatever you went to see there. And there's kind of two guys there. There's, one 700 level fan kind of shouting, who's actually the artist. He, said, who should I make him look like? And I was like, dude, he's like us. Make him look like you.
Right.
And the other is like a 70s style, I guess, like beer vendor with the Von C on it. But it's a Vienna lager at 5.5%, easy drinking. Yep, thanks for bringing this up. But we're
absolutely.
really like proud of the label. I love Von C. Even before we connected with them, I'm not a huge IPA fan, and I love the German style of that Von C has. A lot of lagers, a lot of like actual Helles, things that are German. Their story is pretty cool, and I'll just kind of like leave it with that. They are the descendants of the Schmidt Brewery. So they have, they are the descendants of the Schmidt's Brewery. Then this beer that I have, which is the Von C OG Pils, it is the exact Schmidt's recipe that was made, 50s, 60s, 70s. They're not allowed to use the Schmidt's name because I think they sold the rights to some other company. But Von C is, Philadelphia royalty in the beer world. And the brewery is awesome. It's huge. There's all kinds of like old signs of Schmidt's and the brewery. So we're just really proud to like, and happy to have them connected. Along with the brewery, they are donating $1 for every 4-pack to the Darren Dalton Foundation, which is important to us, cool. Important to Von C, and we're really proud that like a portion's going to charity as well. So I think I hope it does awesome. Me and Chris, the other admin, are going to be out there from 12 to 4 on Saturday. We hope you come out and meet us and buy some beer and drink some beers, and then we'll watch the game later on in the night wherever you're watching it.
That's awesome, man. 12 from 12 to 4, Von C in Norristown. If you are familiar with the Norristown area, if you get remotely close to the Elmwood Zoo, you're right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
So go out there, check it out. Listen, before we jump out of here, we got a little project we're working on. We have our call-in line, our Broad Street line. So, if you're out and about, if you're at the game, if you're pre-gaming in someone's driveway, if you're watching the game at home, something exciting happens during the game, we want you to call in. We want you to leave your in the moment feelings. And then what we normally try to do is play them back on air. So here's our Broad Street line promo.
This is the Broad Street Line, where Philly sports fans leave all of their sports hot takes. Call 267-405-3062 and show us your passion for Philly sports. Don't forget to tune in every Wednesday at 8:30 when we listen to your live reactions to the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat.
So listen, if you're out there, call in. Listen, any final thoughts? Anything final you want to share before we jump out of here?
Just again, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
I'm excited for tomorrow. Call that line. I mean, I'm going to call it tomorrow. I want to call in the moment. Say whatever you want. Heavy breathe. Don likes that. It doesn't matter. You can heavy breathe. You can say the F word.
we're here for it all. We will
Yeah,
play
it
it.
doesn't matter.
Curses,
Like,
everything, screaming, yelling, mad, excited, whatever.
yeah, so call the line. We'll post that number, and like you might regret it after a while, Don. Because
No,
like,
listen,
I don't know.
we're trying, like, we've tried a couple things. We've been trying to pepper social media with it. Just hoping at some point it catches on. But listen, we're just really excited. And listen, it would not, we would be remiss if we did not end the show with our illustrious friend of the pod, Rich's Uncle Jack, and you might recognize this familiar voice on our way out.
Hey, listen to this guy. Tell me how you're feeling here. You're screaming.
I am stoked, baby!
You're screaming like it's still the game going on.
We're talking about the Fightins here. The Fightins!
Said Mike.
Yeah!
Swinging a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2